Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery.
Yeah, thanks for checking out the show. This episode will be about alternative treatment for depression. It's not about politics for once. This episode's about mental health. A lot of comedians are mentally ill. Nobody wants to hear about another comedian complaining about their depression. Most amateur comedians are depressed. Sometimes I do stand-up just to feel bad about myself, 'cause then I'll have something to prove at the next fucking open mic. I have this feeling where comedians do not deserve to be happy. Like, I have this feeling that they're not meant to be happy on a cosmic level. There's some that'll always lead us to be losing in the end. Who wrote this fucking monologue? I did not proofread this at all. This is really dumb so far. Anyway, let's keep going. So anyway, because we're meant, us comedians, we're meant to make other people laugh. And it's easier to do that if you're a loser. That's why self-deprecation is so popular. I've always had no problem making other people laugh. People have made careers out of that. Where am I going with this? I want to make a career out of making myself laugh. There we go. That's where I was going with that. Because that's way harder. Because I know where the punchline's going, so obviously I'm not gonna I'm not gonna laugh at my fucking self. But punchlines get old. I don't care. Okay, I guess I'm moving on to the next. Punchlines get old, dude. I don't care when unfunny people get into stand-up. I care when happy people do, because they are less funny by nature, and they could be doing anything, dude. Yeah, when I wrote this, I was pissed off about something. No, they can't be doing anything. You can only do what you're able to do. So that was bullshit. Anyway, let's continue. I'm only halfway done with this opening monologue that I whipped together right before this fucking show, dude. Why do the job that is designed for unhappy people? Stand-ups, we could take abuse. Abuse. I don't know why I said it with a Z. When your life is going nowhere, stand-up, that's all you have. So it helps to be decent at it, you know? If that's all you have and you're not good at it, time to find a different hobby that, but what if that's literally the only fucking hobby that you have that you like? Still, just because you like it, that's all that matters, actually. Yeah, as long as you like it and you eat a dick every time you're on stage, but you still like it, and you're a loser, then that's fine. Then I respect you 100%. I would respect you more if you were actually good at it, but I respect you on a baseline level if you are a loser who sucks at stand-up and does it constantly. Anyway, I have no prearranged callers for this episode because I don't want to offend any of them by being insensitive. You know, like depression, that's a mental health disease, mental illness. So if I have someone on who's depressed and I'm mean to them, there's a chance that they might actually kill themselves. So that's why I didn't like line up a bunch of depressed people to call in. I could have very easily. I have a plethora I have a phone book filled with them. Just go to the what's a good joke about phone books? What section of the phone book would you find them in? I'm not quick enough to think of a joke of where you would find depressed people because there's no more phone books anymore, so who gives a fuck? You would find them in the white pages or something, but I mean, where's the joke there? Anyway, because last week I had callers because the topic was black privilege. That's a fucking softball topic. Like, I have no qualms looking racist on this show, on accidentally. Even if it's, like, if I look racist, who gives a fuck? That's kind of my responsibility as a Caucasian person to be politically incorrect so someone else can step up and look better by pointing it out, and then, okay, like, they look good. So I'm not supposed to look good. Like, who gives a fuck how I look? I'm just setting someone else up to look good. So in that case, there's a fucking something. Someone's benefiting from it. Anyway, if someone wants to call the lines are still open though. There's only one line though. This is a low budget show. We can only afford one phone line. But no one says in show business the line is open, because that shows that you are not actually in show business and cannot afford a fucking phone system. We have a phone line. Anyway, depression is not a shameful disease. It isn't. Like, what's shameful about realizing that you ain't shit? I'm waiting. I'm thinking about it. Nothing's coming up. My brain is thinking about it. Nothing is like being like, yeah, well, because then you know that you're not good or something, and like low self-esteem. Nah, it's value. It's fine to have that illness, to know, because then you might not be an asshole to be around if you think that you're not shit. But that's just one form of depression. Doesn't mean low self-esteem. It means depression. It means you feel low. It doesn't mean that you feel badass. Oh shit, someone's actually calling. Someone is calling, so let's pick up this line. Hey, thanks for calling the show. What's your name?
Nick?
Oh, Nick, how's it going, my friend? Whoever, you don't have to say your last name, but are you a fellow Chicago personality?
Yeah, is this Tim?
That's who you're talking to. Welcome to my podcast.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah. I'm in the Chicago comedy scene. I see you around sometimes.
Oh, really? Have we met?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't. Even if I met you,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we've met formally. I'm Nick Ryback.
Oh, okay. It sounds familiar, dude. I'm Tim Weichselbaum.
Yeah, I'm watching you live on Facebook
now.
right
Okay.
now.
I guess that makes sense. So I was just in the middle of my very heated monologue about depression. Do you have any thoughts or experience or with depression?
Yeah. Was that the reason to call in? If you had something with depression?
Yeah, that's the focus of that's the main topic, but who cares?
Oh, yeah, I kind of just called because they told me to call on the screen, but yeah, dude.
Oh, nice.
Got a thing or two
That's our first time that someone spontaneously called. Most people are fucking pussies.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I'm just always so scared about death, you know?
Oh, are you afraid of death?
Oh, yeah, dude, hardcore, and that attributes to a lot of my depression.
Oh, okay, so you have depression. I didn't even get to the point where I said I had depression, but we got our first person caller that says they're depressed. I was going to get to how I'm depressed, but I could save that for later. So you're afraid of death.
Oh, yeah, but heavy.
What about it is scary?
Well, the fact that I atheistly believe that when you die, nothing happens.
Did you say atheistly?
Yeah.
of referring to an atheist. Atheistly.
Right.
Hey, I'm on the same boat. I also don't quite believe in an afterlife, at least not one that we're going to really remember our ego. Like, we're not going to... We definitely shed our ego. Like, I believe there might be some collective consciousness that gets recycled or some shit, but that's only because I've done acid.
Right.
Yeah, if I didn't do acid, I would just be the same. I would just believe, yeah, just nothingness, and you're gone. So why is that scary,
Right.
though?
It's pretty morbid. I don't know. I guess just because life right now is so, good and fulfilling because we're experiencing it, in present day right now. But I feel like just dying is basically just like before you were born. I guess it's not scary, but it's just scary to no longer live. the life
Right,
you
well,
live
there's
right
dying and then there's being dead. Like, yeah, being dead, we agree, is probably
Yeah,
fine.
so I'm just more scared of being dead because you're dead for eternity.
Oh, you are
alive
afraid of
for
that aspect of it. You're afraid of the
65 years or so.
Oh, okay. So you actually fear the non-existing aspect of it.
Right. And it's not necessarily fearing it, it's just not trying to, I'm just not trying to get there anytime
Right.
soon.
So you do find life fulfilling? You actually enjoy
Yeah,
life? Like,
very much so, yeah.
okay, that's a new take. I've never heard. I mean, I guess I've heard some people say things like that. Not recently.
Yeah.
Not around the people I hang around with. like I guess the reason I chose this topic is because depression comes on strong as the season changes for some people. So I thought it was a good time to talk about. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
life is all we have, so we have nothing to compare it to. But
Right.
it still sucks, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I guess the fact that I am going to die one day makes the life that I live a lot easier and more enjoyable to live.
I do
like-
know what I do agree with that. Yeah, if it's all we have, we might as well make the best of it. And knowing that, yeah, there's an end to it. That's something I'm reminded a lot whenever
Yeah.
I take like a psychedelic. Speaking of acid,
Right.
like DMT, I did that a couple of years ago, and it punched me in the face with life, and just by
Would you recommend doing that?
I would, yeah. That's it. Period. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter. No, of course, there's obviously you gotta consider some things before you just fucking do it. But
right, yeah, I'm
generally,
pretty good with psychedelics. I would like to do DMT.
I absolutely recommend it. And the way I got it was by going on the dark web. But this was 15 years ago, so the statute of limitations are fine. No,
Damn.
I'm just kidding. But yes, anyway, if you could get your hands on it, because I don't have a source for it, but if you could get your hands on it, I would recommend vaporizing it, because that's probably the most efficient way of doing it.
Mhm.
And, go into it with a high level of respect, as if it's like a religious sacrament, because it is that, I think.
Yeah.
Fuck, I just spilled
Interesting.
coffee over. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of think about Molly the same way. Have you done Molly?
I've only done that like once, and it felt cool. I don't remember. It just felt cool, and the next day I was very empty feeling. Felt empty the next day. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll do that to you. But when you're on it, it gives you this sense of, pure love and serotonin.
Yeah. It is. That's what I liked about it. Yeah, I felt very connected with people.
Right.
I didn't do it alone, so it was nice, and it was mild, but I think I got enough out of it to know that it was enjoyable at least. But also, the next day was like, holy crap! I felt so depleted the next day that I just didn't have any emotions, and I just wanted it to go back to normal. I was like, whoa. That makes sense that there's there's a hangover, because the high was so good. Nothing's free. Everything costs something, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's no free lunch, even in drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember one time I was talking to some guy, and I was telling him how great Molly was, and he was saying, it's not what Molly does to you, it's what you learn from taking it.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like, yeah, it's like all love in the moment, but it's like that you should live your life like that without needing to take the Molly to feel that way. to understand those kinds of things.
I feel like that's a therapeutic thing that also other psychedelics tell me when I take mushrooms. I did mushrooms maybe like a month ago or less than that. Yeah, a month ago, and it was it told me like, this is not recreational. This is therapeutic. This is like a mind-altering substance, which is not like most drugs don't really affect your mind. Like the machinery of your mind, they change your personality a little bit. Your inhibitions, like drinking obviously lifts your inhibitions. That doesn't really mean it affects your mind the same way as psychedelics. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like it takes the fabric of what produces your actual being and consciousness and twists that around, opens it up, is a better way of putting it, I think. Cause
yeah, dude.
Yeah, like mushrooms are healthy, I think. They should be legal, and they're not necessarily fun. They're pretty heavy. Feels like this heaviness on your being, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to talk about while you're on the air?
Not really. I didn't even know this was about depression. I just called in because I saw the number on the screen.
Well, it's all relevant. Everything we're talking about, I think it's good, you know? Like drugs are always fun to talk about. Anything else, though, about drugs or anything you wanted to talk about before I let you go?
Nah. I guess
Cool.
I'll just say what's up to you next time I see you. I saw you at Cole's, I guess, last time.
Oh, okay, cool. I might go back there at some point.
Next Wednesday or something.
Next Wednesday. Hey, that sounds like a reason to go, to meet you. Sounds great.
For sure. I will be there.
How long have you been doing comedy?
Off and on for about 2 years.
Nice.
2 or 3 years. What about you?
7 years. Have you
That's crazy.
done it all in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm from Phoenix, so I've done it a little bit out there.
Okay.
But I prefer it much more out here.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, it was nice to meet you. I guess this counts as a
Yeah,
meeting.
dude. You as well. I will look for you at Cole's or the surrounding mics of the week.
All right, man.
If I see you, I'll say what's up.
That'd be great. I'd like to meet you in person. All right, cool. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, dude. See you later.
All right, peace. All right, friends, we're going to continue where we left off. We had a caller. That was a good caller because usually it's not a surprise when someone calls. It's usually just people that I asked to call. But no, we're getting spontaneous callers because we're going places, dude. Like, look how confident I am on this fucking stream. Like, I spilled coffee already on myself. I'm sweating already. I always sweat profusely because that's just part of being an entertainer, dude. Like, if you're not sweating or pouring drinks on yourself, you probably suck at podcasting. Anyway, I didn't even get through the fucking monologue. So we didn't really talk about depression in the call, but we talked about drugs and personality defects. I don't remember what we talked about at all. But let's just continue where we left off with the monologue, dude. So this podcast or this episode is going to be mostly about treating depression in a way that's not typical, like not with medicine, because that's controversial. I think and so is medicine. Either way, it's controversial. It's controversial to take a bunch of medicine for it and not do anything else. And it's also controversial to do not medicine and only like lifestyle, therapy. Like, that's controversial too. Anyway, so this is where I left off with the monologue. I said, yeah, what's shameful about not knowing that you're shit? Like, depression, why is that stigmatized? Like, I didn't even want to say that I have depression for some reason. Of course I do. Look at me. Look how pale my skin is. Like, I haven't seen the light of day for a fucking a decade at least. Like, I live in the Arctic Circle according to my skin color. Like, you should, if your skin is this white, you should technically live in Minnesota or higher. But I don't. I'm just fucking don't like being outside. That's where people are. Like it's shameful to be happy all the time. That's how I feel. Like, contentment, that's fine. If you're just content with life, that's fine. But being happy all the fucking time, you do not have my respect. Like I was saying, I respect you if you're a loser who's I forgot. A loser who does comedy but also sucks at it. You have my respect. If you're good at it, you have more of my respect. So I'm not just jealous of people who are good at it or something, is what I'm trying to clarify. Doesn't mean that being depressed is a rite of passage, though. Like, depressed people, they're kind of annoying to be around. They bug me. They're flaky, and they're moody. And they're apathetic. Apathy can suck 2 dicks. Apathy, like, it's necessary, to be apathetic sometimes. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't be a thing. Like, evolution produced apathy as a genetic as a trait because of a survival mechanism, probably. Like, you can't just be like freaking out over everything. Look at that flower, dude! That flower's fucking gorgeous, dude! And then someone who's apathetic will just be like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's just a fucking... There's millions of them. You can't be freaking out over one of the millions and billions and trillions of flowers, because there might be a fucking bumblebee, or there might be like a thorn. There might be something about it that you can't... It'll distract you, is what I'm getting at. It's distracting to not be apathetic. If you're apathetic, you kind of... filters out the noise from shit that actually matters. That's why I'm apathetic. Like, if I'm talking to somebody that I don't know and they have nothing to offer me, like no money, no job, and they're just boring, shitty personality, of course I'm going to be apathetic. I'm not going to let them get under my skin. Like, apathy does protect you from that, from being vulnerable. Vulnerability, could be a bad thing for obvious reasons. Anyway, dude, it's just when, like, someone is only apathetic, like, that's their biggest trait, just apathy, like, that's all you fucking are. Like, that's who bothers me. Like, weed makes me super apathetic, but I still smoke it because I like it more than not smoking it. Same for heroin addicts. Like, most of them like doing heroin more than they enjoy living a sober life. It's just that most people have not done heroin, so they don't realize how pointless it is being sober. They're like this. The second you do heroin then you realize, oh shit, what was I doing not doing this? Like, I had hopes and dreams. Like, I cared about my actual financial stability, my reputation. Like, nerd. I don't give a fuck about that anymore. Now I found the fucking reason that I want to fucking do anything. I don't care if it kills me, because there's nothing above this. I don't know. That's just my take on it. Like, I'm sure not everyone feels that way. Like, there's room for disagreement there. That's why some people survive heroin. They don't all get addicted and die from it. I'm just saying they're wrong. They're incorrect. Heroin is life. That's why people die from it, because they dedicate themselves. They literally donate their beinghood, their humanity to it, because that's how fucking good it is. Like, if you become a billionaire, that probably feels pretty good, but it also takes fucking years usually. Like, maybe if you marry a billionaire and he died. I wrote he because most billionaires are men, so this is definitely a context that I'm referring to, like a woman marrying. I don't know what, like, but that's what I wrote when I wrote this. I said he as in like a gold digger situation, but fine. Go along with me here. So let's say you marry a billionaire, he dies. Then you become a billionaire overnight. Yeah, that's probably like heroin, dude. But even that isn't overnight. Like those types of transactions that involve, billions of dollars in matrimony and divorcing and or widows, that shit takes at least a couple days, so it's not instant gratification. Like, yeah, you'll become a billionaire, but it'll take at least 48 hours. So yeah, you'll be riding cloud 9, I guess, but that's not instant gratification, which is the best of all the gratifications, dude. Getting gratification the slow way, yeah, that's probably like way better for you and like, makes you live longer and shit. But like building a business from scratch and seeing it slowly develop into a solid entity that won't go away and is like paying your bills and shit, like, yeah, that's gratifying, but is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's the question I'm asking. Is instant gratification worse than delayed gratification? Because I think it really is debatable, because and it just depends on the context. Like, if you're dying, then of course instant gratification. That's why the fucking the child Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish provides instant gratification for kids, shit that you might never get in a million years if you were healthy. Like, they let you meet Michael Jordan or whoever current celebrity Make-A-Wishes want to meet, like The Rock. They let you meet The Rock or Johnny Depp because that's the only chance that you'll have, because you're dying in a month or something. So that's a good example of instant gratification that we all agree is fine. Like, yeah, he's gonna die. Give him Johnny Depp. Or let's say, I don't know why Make-A-Wish is only for kids. It should go up to age 90. Like, what, 90-year-olds don't want to meet Johnny Depp? It doesn't make any fucking sense, dude. Like, yeah, Make-A-Wish should not only apply to fucking all ages. It should also not just be celebrity meetings. It should be whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, if you want, like, it should obviously sexual gratification. You should be allowed to be visited by a brothel worker. You should be allowed that. You should be allowed to do cocaine. So basically, no holds bar. Like, obviously, you can't kill somebody, but there's exceptions to every rule. Like, let's say your Make-A-Wish is that you want to fucking kill somebody else with cancer. Like, you want to be the force that kills somebody else, because hey, if it's happening to you, you want to do it to somebody else, dude. Like, fucking eye for an eye, dude. It's like, yeah, if I'm gonna die, I want to fucking kill somebody. It's like the opposite of what you ever think about whenever you meet a cancer patient. Most of them are pretty cool. Like, most of them have made peace with the fact that they're dying. They're like, well, I mean, it sucks and all, but I've accepted it, I'm at peace. No, fuck that. I would be the type of patient who would be like, yeah, dude, I'm getting ravaged by fucking the cold hands of death, and I don't deserve this. So therefore, I'm going to fucking inflict the pain that is being brought upon me onto somebody else and their entire family. That'd be fucking hilarious. But I don't think they would allow that. It's kind of inhumane. So the closest they would get is like, okay, your Make-A-Wish is that you get to you get to actually pull the trigger on this lethal injection for this criminal, or you get to unplug somebody who's on life support who's about to die. Something like that. it can't be murder. I mean, obviously that's kind of where I would draw the line with the make-a-wishes. Like, yeah, I want to kill 15 people because I have cancer. That's my make-a-wish. I just want to fucking kill a bunch of people to offset my own fucking demise. I don't know. Like, I think eventually we'll get there. Once we've mastered death, but I don't know if there's such thing as that. Like, once death becomes inexpensive, then yeah, fuck it, kill people. But so far, death is very expensive. Like, there's a lot of costs in death. But like, also, if we master death, we won't really need Make-A-Wish because those people who are no longer going to be worried about dying because we figured it out. So that the fucking charity would just fucking go up in smoke. Like, sorry, that's only for when death exists. Like, yeah, like without death, you're not doing anything fucking helpful. The only reason we sympathize with that foundation is because people die. Who, you know, nothing wrong with, like, in the end, at the end of the fucking millennium, at the end of eternity, death isn't really real. But that's a topic for another episode. I actually did cover that tonight already. I told the first caller about how I took a large dosage of acid and I figured out that there's really no such thing as death. There's no such thing as it, dude. It's just that we all get recycled into like different no. Here's what I believe. When you die, this is what George Harrison believes too, or believed. He's dead. I heard in an interview him say this, that when you die, you're just leaving your body, but you still get recycled. And I think he believed in reincarnation. He said, if you kill yourself, yes, then you get you get reincarnated, but you get stillborn. Isn't that crazy? You have to go through like 7 stillborns before you get your body back, before you get a new body. That's what George Harrison believed. And what if that was true? Like, if every time there was like a miscarriage, or no, stillborn, different. Those are different things. That's because the soul prior to it killed themselves. But also, it doesn't explain why there's more and more soul. Like, where are these souls? Are they transgalactic? Because obviously the world population is increasing, so where are all these new souls coming from? They're either coming from other places, or there's just no cap, and souls can just be duplicated, and there's no limit, or there's a limit, and the souls get spliced into smaller souls. Okay, are you with me? And that's why people are getting less interesting. That's why there's no Shakespeare's. Like, obviously that dude had a full soul. He wasn't just like slicing and dicing. He wasn't just like going on like a fucking scrap of like 50 people, of like one other, of like half of it. He was like, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm saying that the quality of soul has gone down. Like, people are less talented and they have less of a soul, it seems like. How do you measure that? I don't fucking know, dude. I'm just saying, it seems that way. Like, there's 7 billion people. None of them are getting... Actually, there are people that are actually getting smarter and wiser and everything else. So I guess I don't know the fun. But that, if you believe in souls, like, they gotta be coming from fucking somewhere, dude. And like, how do you measure the value of them, etc., etc.? Anyway, so tonight we're talking about depression. That was a long monologue, dude. I'm like 37 minutes. All right, anyway, but we had a caller too. We're gonna talk about the history of depression first. That's where we're gonna start. And so I'm gonna bring your attention to this article, I guess, called Melancholia, because that's kind of where depression started, or was rooted in this. It was rooted in this melancholia term, which is also which is Latin for lugubriousness. Now that's a good fucking word. Lugubriousness. And also morosis, which is, moroseness. So anyway, this word means, I'm still trying, wait, gallbladders? Why is it saying gallbladders? Because the word came from the Greek word for gallbladders. Well, that's relevant to what we're talking about. Wistfulness and saturnine. Okay, never heard. Those are old English words. So this is it's a concept from ancient or pre-modern medicine. Melancholy was one of the 4 temperaments matching the 4 humors. And so we have to go into that because this is a new thing for me too, called humorism. And when I was like, humorism? Like, what does that mean? Like humorist? No. Nah, I mean something completely different, dude. It's from medicine. It's a system of medicine detailing the makeup and workings of the human body, and it's adopted by ancient Greek, Roman physicians and philosophers. So it's old, dude. It's fucking old. But that's where we all started. We had to start somewhere, right? So the list of humors was longer than just 4 liquids and included fundamental elements described by this dude, Empedocles. So he was like, well, there's water, there's air, there's earth, and, Mesopotamia, that's where I'm skimming through this article to try to understand what the hell it is. So there's 4 humors. The most famous model of 4 humors described by Hippocrates. They were what? Black bile? What? Yes, that is one of them. The 4 humors of Hippocratic medicine. So if you're taking the Hippocratic Oath, you gotta already know about this. They are black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. So literally they just mean liquids. Oh, I that's crazy. I did not know that that's what they were getting at, that they literally meant the liquids that are found in the fucking body. So black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. That's it. And each corresponds to the 4 temperaments. A humor is also referred to as something else. Based on Hippocratic medicine, it was believed that the 4 humors were to be in balanced proportions with regard to amount and strength of each humor for a body to be healthy. Okay, what does that have to do? Okay, so this is what humors are. It's just basically like the 4 liquids that are really gross liquids, in your body. So that's what we had to look up to understand melancholia. So yes, it was one of the 4 temperaments matching the 4 humor. So they ascribed a temperament to one of those fucking liquids in your body, like bile and phlegm. That's weird. But I'm not here to judge because I wouldn't have thought of anything smarter if I was them. Sorry. It's a proto-psychological theory suggesting the 4 temperaments, that there are 4 fundamental personality types. And here they are: sanguine, choleric, and melancholic, and phlegmatic, which means from the phlegm that you spit out of your throat and nose. That's fucking weird, dude. So melancholic is the one that we're focusing on. And so which one did that come from? Melancholic. It just, I don't know. Doesn't really say. I'm not going to fucking read this. But it says it comes from the element earth. Because remember how the elements used to refer to earth, water, air, and fire? So yeah, melancholic, that just went with the earth. And meant that you avoided stuff. That's pretty much it. Melancholic individuals tend to be analytical and detail-oriented. and they are deep thinkers and feelers. So that includes basically every woman on planet Earth. I didn't know that all women had depression. So that's interesting. So yeah, they're deep thinkers and feelers, and they are introverted. Well, that's not women. They are introverted and try to avoid being singled out in a crowd. A melancholic personality leads to self-reliant individuals who are thoughtful, reserved, and often anxious. Okay. They often strive for perfection within themselves and their surroundings, which leads to tidy and detail-oriented behavior. Yeah, that's not depression. That's a very simplistic way of grouping people together. Like, oh, okay, if you are, introverted and a deep thinker and a deep feeler, that clearly means that you're also tidy and into detail-oriented behavior. Nah. But who cares? There's only 4 of them, so you got to pick one. I mean, it's not like they were trying to write the DSM or whatever. They weren't. But anyway, that's where depression is. So it's based on the melancholic personality type, but melancholia is the actual concept for something. It doesn't really say. This article just says literally this sentence ends by just saying that it's it means to mourn or some shit. It means it's to mourn, and it's a concept. Yeah, I'm not good at digesting Wikipedia articles because the way they fucking type shit out is so objective, and it's not meant to be easy. I don't know, dude. I can't explain it. But here's a picture of a dude with whose face exemplifies the melancholy temperament. Because that's what a lot of people look like who have depression. They have their lips literally jut out about an inch from their face, from where it should be, and they have a very wrinkly, cheeks, and a drooping chin. That's very common. We've all seen people like this, except for the hairstyle. The hairstyle, ignore that. That's more a fashion statement at the time. He is balding, though. But never mind that. We're just talking about the facial expression. So yes, if you see people with with crow's feet whose eyeballs are out of their head and also point downward at a 45-degree angle from their fucking, perspective from their face, and their nose points down, yet their lip for some reason they have a big underbite. Yeah, that's clearly what a depressed person looks like. I don't know. This is not the same thing as depression. But anyway, in this first paragraph, it says that melancholic conditions were classified as such by their common cause rather than their properties. Okay, it's the predecessor of the mental health diagnosis, clinical depression. So that's all I care about. That's why we're on this article, because we're talking about clinical depression, and it still exists actually as a subtype for major depression, known as melancholic depression. So there you go. So if you have melancholic depression, yeah, that's basically what that evolved into. So I don't know. I don't have that. Maybe I do. Who cares what I have? So we wanted to get into the history of depression. And I think that covers it, is that it started with these 4 things and traits that were based on the liquids of your body, phlegm, blood, bile. What else is there? That's it. And so they attributed these personality types to these phlegms, to these liquids. And melancholic was one of them, melancholia. So people who were kind of just sad or withdrawn or introverted, they were slapped with this label. And that's what evolved into depression. So I'm also curious what the treatment was for it. What was the treatment for these old school forms of depression? I don't know if there was. In this article doesn't really talk about it. If we go to melancholic depression, I'm sure there's just causes. It doesn't really say the treatment even on Wikipedia. So we're not going to find the treatment for old school depression. But where would we? I don't know if I. Let me just see if I wrote anything down. History of depression, humorism. And then I got this fucking PubMed article. PubMed Central article about the historical background of depression. Prior to the 19th century, although detailed systems of classification abounded, the main problem for psychiatric nosology was the establishment of broad major disorders. Melancholia was recognized early as the time of hypocrisies. Yeah, we already covered that. So we covered that. Black bile. Oh, so that's where melancholy came from the black bile. Yeah, that makes sense. So clearly, if you're depressed, it means you have too much black bile or something. Most psychiatric terms have changed meaning over their history, but they're always dependent on, language, dude. So does it say if we just type treatment, including assignment of appropriate treatment. I don't know why I pulled up a PubMed article as if this was going to be a good thing to talk about on a podcast. So let's just move on to an actual, video let's just go to this website right here. Here we go. The history of depression, accounts, treatments, and beliefs through the ages. What are the treatments? We already focused on what it was based on. So we're pretty much experts at this point on that. Depression causes and treatment in the Common Era. What's the Common Era? Who cares? During the Common Era, many barbaric and primitive treatments for depression continue to be the norm. Oh shit, we already skipped some. Here we go. Here's the earliest accounts of depression. This is where we need to focus on. If we're being scholarly, we need to start at the very beginning. According to nobody's ever said that. The earliest written accounts of what is now known as depression appeared in the 2nd millennium BC in Mesopotamia. That's a long time ago, dude. People were depressed back then. In these writings, depression was discussed as a spiritual rather than a physical condition. Like other mental illnesses, it was believed to be caused by demonic possession. As such, it was dealt with by priests rather than physicians. Yeah, makes sense, dude. The idea of depression being caused by demons and either evil spirits has existed in many cultures, including Greeks, Romans, Babylonians, Chinese, and Egyptians. People probably still believe that even today. Because of this belief, it was often treated with methods such as beatings. This is what I was looking for. This is what I wanted to fucking know. Beatings, physical restraint, and starvation in an attempt to drive the demons out. Well, yeah, dude, it makes sense, dude. Like, if you believe it's demons, you gotta choke out the fucking demons by beating it out, dude. Beat out the demon. What if that came back? What if people who are depressed in 2020 started getting beatings? It's like, yeah, dude, you're they would, even if it wasn't based on there being a demon in you, what if they just beat you to tell you to be like, yo, toughen up, dude. That's not why they did it though. So anyway, while many believe that demons were the root cause of the depression, there were a number of ancient Greek and Roman doctors who believed that depression was a biological and psychological illness. Wow, so even back then, there were some ancient doctors who believed that it actually was a fucking psychological illness, dude, even back then. Greek and Roman doctors used therapeutic methods such as gymnastics, massage, diet, music, baths, and medication containing poppy extract and donkey's milk to treat their patients. Now, okay, this is the first sentence that actually makes sense. This sounds actually healthy to do gymnastics, massage, diet, music, and baths. And even poppy extract, dude. Why not do some opioids? That makes you happy. That cures it for a little bit. And donkey's milk, that's the one thing I'm not really sure about. I don't know if the donkey's milk will treat it, because I haven't really heard about that for, any reason to drink donkey's, let alone depression. Like, I haven't heard of people drinking donkey's milk even when there is nothing else to drink. Let alone for an actual fucking reason besides that, besides survival, would you drink donkey's milk? But hey, back then, that's what they did. So don't fucking knock the ancient people, dude. How rude would that be if I did that? And then there's, they believe in physical. So as far as physical causes, a Greek physician named Hippocrates is credited with the idea of that depression or melancholia was caused by an imbalance in 4 body fluids. Hey, sounds familiar. That's ringing a bell in my head, because that's what they say it is now. They say it's an imbalance. They don't say of body fluids. They say, chemical imbalance, because it's tinier. Can't see the chemicals happening, So they just kind of just shifted the definition or the cause. But that's still what they were saying even back in the fucking day when Hippocrates was alive. So that's interesting. Anyway, we covered this. How about they called them humors? The yellow bile, the black bile, phlegm, and blood. That's all that matters. Specifically, it was attributed to the black bile, an excess of black bile in the spleen. That's it. At least they attributed it to something besides demons. And Hippocrates' treatment of choice included bloodletting, baths, exercise, and diet. Yeah, like I'm fine with everything except for the bloodletting, because bloodletting, I know that's a very ancient form of, treatment for a lot of shit, but it doesn't have anything to do with black bile in the spleen. How does bloodletting let out the black bile? It was just whatever, just what they did. But baths are, I don't know, man. They probably had really good baths back then. Like, by bath, they didn't mean like a shitty alone in your apartment type of bath. They meant like a communal type of bath, which would put anyone in a good mood, dude. Public nudity puts anyone in a good mood. So and warm water and relaxation and grapes and shit. Yeah, I can see why they did that. And exercise and diet, those are still considered actual treatments for depression. So I could see why this Hippocrates motherfucker, is so lauded in the medical community, and why you got to take the Hippocratic Oath. That's why. It's because he was ahead of his time, I guess. I don't know. A Roman philosopher and statesman named Cicero, in contrast, believed that melancholia was caused by psychological causes, such as rage, fear, and grief. I feel like those are more like symptoms. Like rage. Rage is a symptom, maybe. I don't know. Fuck Cicero, dude. That's why nobody talks about Cicero. Nobody's like, yeah, we take the Cicerean oath. Like, fuck off, Cicero. You were not as smart as Hippocrates, dude. So, in the last years before the Common Era, in spite of some steps towards believing in more mental and physical causes of depression, it was still a very common belief among even educated Romans that depression and other mental illnesses were caused by demons and by anger of the gods. Hey, I mean, that really isn't that surprising at all, because there are people even today who would probably believe that. I even kind of believe that to some extent, that maybe I'm pissing off some greater being, and that's why I don't believe that at all, actually. I just believe that I'm not satisfied or something, or I have high expectations of life or something. We'll get to that. That's atypical depression. We'll just finish up on the history part of the podcast, where we will just talk a little bit more about how it started, because we want to cover this topic because the reason I'm going on a history thing with depression is because I'm actually kind of skeptical that depression is in fact a life. Here's what I'm trying to get at. I think it's a human-made, a man-made disease. I don't think it's natural to be depressed in the jungle. I think it was man-made by technology. Even in ancient times, I still think there was enough. Nah, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about there. There was not that much technology back then. I don't know why people were still depressed. It's natural probably to be depressed, even in the fucking jungle. But I think that your environment plays a big role. And that's super controversial to say if you say that it plays the only role. I don't think it plays the only role. I just think your environment plays a big role. That's why I think depression is on the rise, because the environment is getting worse. How do I mean? Well, you're more exposed to other people's thoughts, so you realize that you ain't shit a lot more frequently than you did in the 1800s or something, when you didn't really meet as many people to show you that, hey, you ain't shit. You just thought you were great all the time. I don't know, it's just a fucking thought. So the Common Era, many barbaric and primitive treatments for depression continue to be the norm. Cornelius Celsus reportedly recommended the very harsh treatments of starvation, shackles, and beating in cases of mental illness. Shackles, I like that one. That was my favorite. Just put shackles on them. That'll do it. Like starvation I get, and beating I get. Like you're trying to like accomplish something, but just put them in shackles? Okay, sounds like you're just kind of putting it on hold at that point. I don't know if that's going to cure anything. But it's a treatment, you know. It was a Common Era. Try not to be too... This wasn't, the year 25. So let's not be too harsh. A Persian doctor named Razaz, however, did see mental illness as arising from the brain and recommended such treatments as baths and a very form of behavioral therapy, which involved positive rewards for appropriate behavior. See, now that's smart. This was in 900 AD, roughly, where he was like, nah, dude, it is coming from the brain. Stop being a fucking dick. Stop whipping these people. Put them in a bath. Put them in one of these common bathing areas where public nudity is very accepted, and let them do that. Let them just take a nice, relaxing bath. And also fucking therapy, maybe. Like maybe a little bit of therapy where we give them positive reinforcement or positive... that sounds good to me compared to everything else I read. And then in the Middle Ages, religion, especially Christianity, dominated European thinking on mental illness, with people again attributing it to the devil, demons, or witches. Exorcisms, drowning, and burning were popular treatments of the time. Well, I'm glad I wasn't around then. I mean, I don't want to, none of those sound good. So we kind of went back into the Dark Ages a little bit, because they were literally called the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, where, yes, if you had depression, I don't want an exorcist. I don't want to be drowned. I don't want to be burnt. I don't think that's going to fucking help. And they were also locked up in lunatic asylums. At least they were not coddling them. Like, at least they didn't use a euphemism for them. Like, psychiatric hospital. No, they called them fucking lunatic asylums. Like, you know where you're going, right? It's called a lunatic asylum. So I think you might have some idea what you're getting yourself into when you go there. And then in the 18th and 19th centuries, also called the Age of Enlightenment, depression can be viewed as a weakness in temperament which is inherited and cannot be changed, with the resulting idea that people with this condition should be shunned or locked up. Okay, so same thing, basically, as the Middle Ages. We just didn't kill, you just didn't, physically torture you. We just shunned you and locked you up. That's no big deal. No big deal. And then the latter part of the Age of Enlightenment, they began to suggest that, hey, maybe aggression was the cause. Like, what does that even mean, aggression? A lot of people with depression are not aggressive. They're just apathetic, you know. So I don't know. So fuck the 18th and 19th century, dude. They're dumb. For the Age of Enlightenment, they're pretty unenlightened. And also, in that same era, it included water immersion. So, you know, kept underwater for as long as possible without drowning. That's humane. Totally fine. And also, you know, just spinning stool. Just putting them on a stool and spinning it to induce dizziness. Because that was believed to be that was like an early form of electroshock therapy. What? No. I skipped a sentence. Sorry. The dizziness was believed to put the brain contents, it's even more fucked up than what I thought, back into their correct positions. Well, that makes sense. Just spin the brain back to where it belongs. It's just out of whack. Literally, it's just out of whack. Benjamin Franklin is also reported to have developed an early form of electroshock therapy during this time. Or at least that's the one that we still kind of do. So that's cool. That was Benjamin Franklin. That guy was ahead of his time, dude. He didn't just fucking put him on a fucking stool and spin them. Can't believe that's an actual treatment. Actually, I can. In addition, horseback riding, dye enemas, and vomiting were recommended treatments. So, you know, 19th century, just put him on a horse, dude. That's what everyone else was doing. Just go horseback riding. So that's fucking hilarious. And then in 1895, a German psychiatrist is how that's pronounced, became the first to distinguish manic depression. So that's what we now know as bipolar disorder. And it's, you know, so that's we're getting close to modern times now. And then in 1917, Sigmund Freud wrote about mourning and melancholia, where he theorized that melancholia as being a response to loss. Well, that's boring, dude, because we know it's not based on loss. You could go your whole life without losing anything and still be and still have depression. So we're going to skip that part. We don't care what Sigmund Freud has to say. And then this continues. Like we get to the recent past, like during the late 19th, early 20th centuries, treatments for severe depression were generally not enough to help patients, leading many people desperate for relief to have lobotomies, which are surgeries to destroy the frontal portion of the brain. These surgeries were reputed to have a calming effect. Unfortunately, lobotomies often caused personality changes, a loss of decision-making ability, poor judgment, and sometimes even led to a patient's death. Okay, because I know we all have heard of lobotomies, and that's kind of what they were doing in the 19th and even the 20th century. I think they're doing lobotomies as recent as like the 50s. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it goes almost to that recently. And they said it fucking did something. Like it had a calming effect. Yeah, okay. But it also fucking fucks with your personality. You become a zombie a little bit, is what it sounds like. Yeah, so they just cut out part of the brain. I mean, hey, I'm not knocking that, because even with, like, obviously brain surgery is relevant, but not to just give a fucking lobotomy to remove an entire lobe. But they still remove parts of people's lobes for, like, epilepsy to cure epilepsy. They do remove part of your fucking brain, and you probably won't even think that anything's missing because you weren't using that part of your brain to begin with. Isn't that crazy? So then finally this article gets to our understanding of depression today, which we don't give a fuck about, because we know. Actually, we don't. So I guess that's what we should look into. So while the condition is much better understood than it was in the past, researchers are still working to learn more about the causes. Yeah, we know. So that's why I didn't want to read, because we know that we don't know. We know a lot about how little we know. So that was the history. So the traditional old treatments for depression are pretty fucked up. You know, like spinning on a chair, horseback riding, being whipped, being starved, being drowned. Literally, I mean, we learned a little bit since then, but we might have to go back to that, and you never know. And so, today, the argument is whether it's like an environmental versus nurture or nature versus nurture. That's it. Like, people do often debate if it's okay to not take antidepressants for a certain amount of time. Like, people are either, seems like the norm is to be pro antidepressant, and in some cases, yeah, I'm definitely for it, but in all cases, like as like a catch-all cure for depression, that's where I would probably take the other side of the argument and say maybe there's some alternative treatments that, you know, and I don't count therapy as alternative. I count that as so we have to include that as one of the actual mainstream treatments is just talk therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. That is actually conventional. So we're not even talking about that. We're talking about, besides medicine and therapy, what are the treatments? And we could already think of some, like diet and exercise. Those are old. Those are still pretty conventional. So we want to dig in to the ones that are absolutely non-conventional, the ones that people are afraid to talk about. For example, bloodletting. No, I'm talking about modern ones. So let's see what this woman, like herbal, here we go, herbal remedies. That's what I was getting at by non-conventional. So let's see what this person has to say about herbal remedies for depression.
So depression can be mild or it can be serious.
Whoa. Brilliant insight.
But at first instance, we really have to pay attention to what's going on. Often, of course, depression can be an internalized of strong feelings like anger. So what we're trying to do just here is to talk about certain things that we need to rule out and things that can just help us.
Depression could just be anger? Okay.
Feel a little
Is that how I think she means that's how it manifests itself. I don't know.
Or joy. Now, with depression, you want to look at nutritional deficiencies, possible hypoglycemia, you're not eating correctly. You want to make sure that you have enough fatty acids in your system, the omega-3s. And you also want to make sure that you have a lot of green foods.
Green
for nutrition.
Foods. Okay.
Because your body's not going to function properly. It's going to get depressed if it's not getting what it wants. Now, St. John's wort is something that you can use up to 1,800 milligrams a day, but it's not something that you would use if you're on antidepressants now. And you also have to
what'd you say? I wasn't paying attention. She said, what don't you use?
And you also have to make sure that you're not going to be in the sun for very long, because otherwise it will have an adverse reaction on your skin.
Okay.
But I just want to talk about two products that we don't talk about too much, just for those mild
What is that red
depressions.
liquid?
You can get these lavender flower water,
Okay.
and lavender is just really
that'll do it.
kind of calms you down, just makes you feel a bit calm, whereas the rose water...
To be honest, I mean, that's a like, that has an effect, but that's just because it's relaxing when somebody gives you personal attention. Like, if this woman in her calm voice like sprayed me with lavender oil, of course that would relax me. It doesn't mean that it's going to work when I do it by myself.
Really can just kind of add some joy. It just
like, just the sound of that
perks you up.
is relaxing.
So in terms of depression, we can also use, there's certain substances that you can use, but I just wanted to say a couple things that might perk you up. Depression is something you need to take seriously, and I think you need to start mostly with diet to understand how that works. Maybe in hormonal.
Oh, she's saying diet is the first way to start, but this video is about herbal remedies. Shit. Now I gotta find her video about diet.
imbalance, there may be some things that are going on that you really need to talk to someone about. But for
Oh
most
shit, she's recommending therapy, so this is not a kooky video as I thought it would be.
mild occasions, try especially some rose water,
Mild.
some lavender.
In mild occasions, because that's... Dude, if your depression is lifted by fucking rose water, you might want to call it a bad day. You might want to just call it something else, you know? But even that I feel weird saying because how do you decide when something is depression or, you know? I think it has to have a lasting effect. So if it could be cured or lifted in one sitting, I don't know. That's definitely a treatment for it, but yeah, okay. That could count as depression, I guess. If it, as long as it has an effect that's positive, why not?
And then if you need to, you might want to try a bit of St. John's wort.
Whoa! St. John's wort. She doesn't say why. She doesn't say how much. She doesn't say anything else. She just says, hey, you might, if this doesn't work, you might want to move on to St. John's wort. It just smiles into the camera, and that's where it ends. It's like, okay, thank you. You could have just listed that on a pad. You didn't need to make a video where you just said, yeah, St. John's wort, by the way. Let's see what this dude has to say.
A friend, I went to a psychiatrist.
Whoa.
And tried
Whoa, you already lost me with the background music, dude. Like, I don't want to hear your story with background music as if you fucking beat your depression. No. Like, I like that, but also it just doesn't make for good analysis to talk over your music and stuff like that. Let's see this one. I don't know what it is.
Today,
whoa, buddy, Dr. Oz. Okay, what does he have to say?
a health headline that's going to want to make you check your medicine cabinet.
Check
OTC
your
pain
medicine
relievers and other
cabinet.
medications, when they're used properly, they're safe. But there's a surprising ingredient in them that may be contributing to your anxiety and depression.
Whoa, now we're getting into the fucking woo-woo. Dude, Dr. Oz, dude, he is definitely not the most reputable source on medical information, but here we go.
Could it be that what you're taking right now could have this ingredient?
Could it be?
I've got 5 warning signs you need to know
Clickbait.
about. Plus, the
Dude,
new food
he's talking as if this is a clickbait arc. I got 5 things. I can't do his vocal fry.
fixes that can help you break through your anxiety and depression. So we're going to start off with a short...
Looks like a fucking car salesman from the 70s. That's why he does not get a good name for himself. He's a clickbait medical TV personality with all the scruples of a car salesman from the 70s.
30-second mini quiz. Y'all up
Doesn't mean he's wrong about everything.
for this? All right. Keep track of whether or not you have any of
Wheel of Fortune.
these 5 warning
You-
signs.
look at this.
Right? Does your heart feel like it's racing? Pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter. Do you sometimes have trouble sleeping? It's pretty common.
Why is it laid
How
out?
about an upset stomach once in a while?
Do we really need the visual aid to count off how many things he's talking about? Like, I'm pretty sure we could keep track of 5 things. You could just list them without the ridiculous visual aid.
Yeah.
But hey, it makes it more fun.
You feel jittery? Like, you need to be all over the...
Didn't you cover that already? What was the first one?
Like it's racing.
Oh,
Pitter
heart
patter,
racing?
pitter patter, pitter patter.
So heart racing versus jittery, those are different.
Do you sometimes have trouble sleeping? It's pretty common.
Let's face it, these are all the same thing. If your heart is racing, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're jittery, yeah, I'm pretty sure you had caffeine.
Right? How about an upset stomach once in a while?
Yeah, same thing,
You
caffeine.
feel jittery? Like, you need to be all over the place. You can't quite get comfortable. A lot of heads
Yeah,
nodding,
always looking at the air.
What
Anyone?
about headaches?
Okay, well that's, come on, dude.
Headaches, especially in the morning.
That's from not having
So,
caffeine.
board-certified family physician, a woman who specializes in mental health, Jennifer Cottle, is here and she's joining us.
Okay. That's enough for me. Let's
How are
talk to
you?
someone else. I'm just the fucking showman. I'm just here to walk in front of a green screen and talk about like a commercial. All right, enough. I'm just going to keep going.
I think it's time we reveal what ingredient in our over-the-counter medications could be causing all that anxiety, all those symptoms I just mentioned.
I think it's time too, absolutely. Well, believe it or not, that substance is caffeine. Believe it or not, caffeine can actually...
Well, what a surprise! A fucking kindergartner could have fucking realized you're talking about caffeine, motherfucker! Caffeine! That's what this click fucking bait video was about. Caffeine!
Cause any or all of the symptoms that you...
Fuck. Why are they pouring out coffee beans
You just mentioned
from things? Why are they pouring coffee beans
and
out
ask people about. You know, this is a substance
from a pain relief? Is this a joke?
that's often
Whoops, I actually made it full screen.
overlooked. We don't
Caffeine
often...
that's in coffee beans.
Yeah, like,
Caffeine as in
this kind of
coffee beans.
caffeine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. As in coffee beans? No, I'm pretty sure it comes from other places. Why do they have to have the dumb visual aid of coffee beans being poured out of medicine bottles? All right, I'll keep watching.
Here, caffeine right here. It's often overlooked, but it's a psychoactive substance that can cause
We need the close-up. We need to know what it really looks like.
And a lot of people don't realize it's actually found in so many medications that we're familiar with. Up to 80 medications have caffeine in them. So believe it or not, that's what we're talking about, caffeine.
And you know why they act?
What? Oh, they're talking about in your medicine? Come on, dude. People drink caffeine who don't take medicine, but this is only for people who take medicine with caffeine. It's got to be the tiniest amount. This is dumb.
Caffeine in these medications makes them work better. It's amazing, but it's actually a
Really?
very powerful
Oh, okay,
tool,
that
but it
makes-
can also hurt you if you don't know what's in there. So how much caffeine are we talking about in these over-the-counter products?
So it definitely varies depending on what substance or medication that we're talking about. But let's use an example. There's a popular over-the-counter migraine medication, for example. If we take that medication in maximum amounts, it actually has the equivalent of 5 cups of coffee in terms of caffeine in that medication.
Okay, well, that's insane. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, and a lot
Just
of people...
that dose.
That dose, maximum amount, it's the equivalent caffeine as 5 cups of coffee, which is really... It kind of blows your mind, I think.
Shit.
Take that medication in maximum amounts.
What medication?
It definitely varies depending on what substance
I
or
don't believe
medication that
this.
we're talking
I don't
about.
believe
But
this.
let's use an example. There's a popular over-the-counter migraine medication, for example. If we take that medication...
Yeah, don't say the name of it so we can't fact check you. Yeah, just go ahead with that. But hey, even that, she said at full dose, and it's for migraine. So that's already a pretty severe fucking illness. So if you're taking the highest dose of a medicine for a very, for a severe headache, I don't think the caffeine is really your worst problem at that point. I think the fucking migraines are the problem. But anyway, I'm listening.
Territory. We know that too much caffeine can cause anxiety, it can cause other symptoms, it can interact with other medications. So this caffeine calculus is the idea that we've got to keep track. We've got to do the
What?
math and keep up with it.
Sergine
Why is it
joining
called
us.
calculus?
Sergine actually...
It's not calculus, it's just addition. It's simple addition and dosage. I don't think it's calculus. But anyway,
Hi.
told me, how are you?
Welcome. Good. How are you?
Got Carl.
How are you?
So you watched me walk the gauntlet with those 5 key symptoms of anxiety. You felt some of those things, I understand.
Definitely.
All right. Which one specifically?
why are they
about
both
it?
attractive?
Headaches, jitteriness.
Why are the two guests who happen to be experts both attractive? Usually if you're an expert on something, you're not also...
Racing heart, definitely.
Like,
And I
what
don't
the
sleep
fuck?
deep. I mean,
Do they also model?
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Even Dr. Oz looks very attractive. That guy could... I don't know if he could be a model, but he's pretty attractive, dude.
So we asked Sergine to keep a track of all the things she was eating, all the
diary.
products she was taking, the
Yeah.
things you drank, all that. You did that for us.
Yep.
All right, you ready to do the math for
Oh,
us?
nice coffee mug, dude. Look at that skull coffee mug. That's pretty cool, dude.
Let's go fun.
So we're going to add it up, huh?
Come on over. We're going to do the math together. This is how everyone at home should do their caffeine calculus.
Oh,
Right? Very simple.
Caffeine calculus. Because if you say that, it makes people think they're doing something good or smart. It makes them feel smart when you just say calculus. Even though, like I said, it's just addition. See the plus signs? See how I'm predicting how the course of this video is going multiple times? Like I guess what drug they're talking about. I guessed on how it's just a... See how smart I am?
Easy to figure out how much caffeine you've ingested over the course of the day. So let's say you've got migraine.
Yeah, that's calculus, all right.
Have you ever had migraine?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
130 plus 100 plus that equals this. That's calculus.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So you took 2 pills like you normally do. Yep. We looked into it, and it turns out there's about 130
That's a
milligrams
lot.
of caffeine. 130 milligrams of caffeine is like
Yeah,
2.5
it's
cups
more
of
than
coffee.
yeah.
Then you actually stop on your way to work and you get a cup of coffee, right? Which in your case tends to be a more powerful one, so it's 100 milligrams of coffee.
It's got to be in a clear mug so you can see that there's coffee in there.
Then a couple hours later, you end up with more of the migraine headaches, 2 more of these little pills, 130 milligrams extra. Then you decide,
Who drinks coffee when they're having a migraine?
you want a grande latte. Why not?
What the fuck is he talking? Who has a grande latte in the middle of a migraine? Oh shit, I'm having this debilitating migraine. Let's get coffee multiple times in the day. Hey, I guess some people do.
Tastes so good, doesn't it? Buttery in your mouth, gives you a little extra energy surge.
You be knowing.
Is this sounding familiar? Is this, yeah, it sounds familiar.
150 milligrams here, a soda pop, even if it's a diet soda pop, without
Sounds familiar to who? Does she have migraines? What the fuck is she talking about?
the sugar, still has the caffeine in it, right? That's about 42 milligrams.
Diets.
And then later in the evening, because you have those migraines quite a bit,
Okay.
which we ought to be talking about, that's another 130 milligrams.
Yeah,
If you add all this together,
it is a lot.
you end up taking 682 milligrams of caffeine.
That's some intense calculus that they used to get that number.
You know what that is?
And that's one day.
Yeah, that's one day.
One day.
We usually tell people to try to stay under 200 milligrams of caffeine. Right? Again, that's 3 cups of coffee in that range somewhere. Right? That's the amount that experts say can.
Yeah, but you're in the middle of a migraine. You're having migraines that last throughout the fucking day. I think it's okay to take that much caffeine if it helps the migraine. But like, okay, I get what they're saying. But the example they're using is someone who's having a migraine that lasts all day.
Cause
That's a pretty extreme case.
enough of an
Go to the doctor. Like,
anxiety that you'll be symptomatic from it. In fact, you'll get headache withdrawal from that. You'll get jitteriness. You'll get the palpitations.
It is a lot of
problems,
caffeine,
stomach.
though.
You get it all.
That
The gauntlet.
Familiar.
So when I see that much caffeine, it does shock me. Are you surprised?
no, she's not surprised. You booked her as a guest, as an expert. She knows what the fuck. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's just some random person. But what the No, she's not surprised.
Yeah, the medicine. I did not know the medicine had so much caffeine in it. But oh man, I had no idea.
All right, that's why we're doing this together. You're not alone. So
That's horrible.
explain what
She doesn't
all
look
this
surprised
caffeine
at all.
does to our bodies.
Yeah, so, when we take in caffeine, it really affects the nervous system. And we first start by, we have to absorb the
So does migraine headaches. I don't
caffeine in our stomach. So the gut absorbs the caffeine. That's the first thing that happens. It travels all over the body, but in particular to the brain. And the brain then sends down signals. It
Is that
sends
what it looks
signals
like?
down to the heart. It tells the heart to beat faster. And it also sends signals to the blood vessels, causing them to vasoconstrict or tighten. And it causes increased blood pressure and increased pulse. But there are other symptoms as well, many of them that we talked about, but also things like tremors or feeling muscle twitching and things like that, feeling jittery. I know you mentioned that before. So
Yeah, we know caffeine makes you jittery. How many times do we have to go over what caffeine does? We're talking about a migraine medicine that someone took multiple times a day. If you just take one dose, it's only like a cup and a half of coffee. But meanwhile, it might relieve your, migraine, which is one of the most, it's a very painful thing. Migraine headaches, some are mild, it depends. But if you have migraine headaches regularly, I don't think caffeine is the problem. That's why this is like such a clickbaity video.
So there's many other symptoms that can be a part of it.
I'm learning on the show all the time. And I found that, looking into your case and understanding this caffeine calculus, that If you get rid of the extra
Stop
caffeine
calling
in
it
your life,
calculus,
the
dude.
power
It's not
on
calculus.
You can be the equivalent, many argue, as taking an anti-anxiety pill.
Really?
Think about that. Taking an anti-anxiety drug prescribed by a physician might have an impact that's no greater than just getting rid of the extra caffeine in your life. I think it's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected. The second definition of calculus is not the one I thought. It's a particular method or system of calculation or reasoning. So actually, they actually are using it correct if you go by that definition. It doesn't just mean like differential calculus or integral calculus. There's the word calculus just means a method of calculation. So, hey, I stand corrected. Sorry, Dr. Oz, for slandering your good name.
And for some people, it really does make a big difference.
So would you consider giving up some of this caffeine?
I'll try anything.
Wait, you'll try anything? No, we just asked you if you would give up the caffeine. That's a very limited amount of things. Anything would be like a heart surgery, would be like brains. No, we're not talking anything. We just mean simply... Wait, how do you give up the caffeine if it's in the medicine? I don't get it.
And you know, the caffeine, the effect on us varies from person to person. 200 milligrams is the average number that I get concerned over, but it might be a lower number for you, maybe a tiny bit higher.
What does it have to do with depression and anxiety? If you don't have migraines, if you're not taking meds with caffeine in it, then why the fuck are we focused on meds with caffeine in it? This person on the show is just a coffee drinker, I think. Otherwise, why the fuck would we be asking her to give up caffeine if it's in the medicine she needs? I'm confused.
But I know that you can do
But correct. I'm correct. I'm correct to be confused.
better than 682 milligrams.
Right.
So how does someone check to know if the medications they're taking, because that's where you're getting a lot of yours, have caffeine? Where, do they
Oh,
hide?
he's just said that's where she's getting a lot of hers. Okay.
Well, no, actually,
So she's supposed to give up her meds. Okay.
and this is the great thing about it. A lot of the medications that we get either over the counter or, even prescription, it's right on the label. You pick up the bottle and you can see it says caffeine right there. But keep in mind, though, that there are some natural substances that have caffeine in them that won't be labeled as caffeine on the label. Things like yerba mate or cola nuts. Those are natural plant substances, for example, that have caffeine in them. And so we might see those words but not understand that they have caffeine in them.
What should folks do to try to
Okay.
maintain stable levels of caffeine, especially if they've got pain? What are options that might work equally well?
Well, we want to
Yeah,
look
what
for
are you
other
supposed to do about that?
alternatives, and especially for pain, we've got lots of non-medication alternatives for pain, but also
Oh,
medication
thanks.
alternatives that don't have to deal with caffeine. Tylenol and Motrin, for example, are good options for many people.
Yeah, we know. Yeah. We know that Tylenol and Motrin treat pain. Nobody who has been in pain has never heard of Tylenol. Thanks for the insight. The problem is that they're not strong enough. So what is this person supposed to do? This person, for example.
All right, so I have another idea. Come on
Oh,
up.
okay. Yeah, don't address her specific needs. That's why she was looking at the camera. She was looking at the camera like dumbfounded. She's like, yeah, but Motrin are fucking dog shit. What about me, who actually needs like real pain meds? I don't actually know if that's what she's on. I think she's on like okay, so what are we supposed to do if not take medicine?
All right, so I have another idea. Come on over here. If you're not going to get rid of your caffeine, and for coffee drinkers that's a big problem, I have a
That was all I had. It's like, let me take you to your next station.
food fix, because food can't fix it.
Oh my
to a
God,
certain
this is
extent.
dumb.
There are some foods that allow your body to metabolize the caffeine faster. Remember I said we all deal with caffeine differently? It's not just our genes.
All right, this is triggering me too much. Like the way that this is treated like a game show for medicine is I'm not a doctor. I'm the furthest thing from a doctor, and it's still annoying me to tell people to take like, what the fuck, dude? You can't just tell people to eat kale instead of taking medicine that might have caffeine in it. So we're going to switch it up to another part of the thing I wanted to cover tonight, which is a specific alternative treatment for depression called the human given approach, I believe. The human givens approach. So we will actually go back to the browser here to see the human givens. It's a name of a theory in psychotherapy formulated in the UK in the late 90s. And so there's a book called Human Givens, A New Approach to Emotional Health and Clear Thinking. So the Human Givens organizing ideas proffer a description of the nature of human beings, the givens of human genetic heritage, and what humans need in order to be happy and healthy. Human Givens Therapy seeks to use a client's strengths to enable them to get emotional needs met. So basically, my understanding of it is that it basically says that, well, if you're not getting your basic needs met, then, of course, you're going to be depressed. And that's kind of what... I don't see this article talking about depression yet, but that's how I've heard of this fucking... is about how the Human Givens approach explains depression. And also has to do with dreaming a lot. So let's just read these key features. And actually, let's just start with this. The 3 reasons for mental illness. So this is touching on something that has nothing to do with mainstream. Like, this is not mainstream therapy. This is very alternative. But I think it's fascinating because it might actually have some truth to it, but I don't know. It's controversial. So the 3 reasons for mental illness, here's one of them. Environment, and then damage, and then knowledge. Those are the 3. So environment is something in our environment that is interfering with our ability to get our needs met. Our environment is toxic. For example, a bullying boss, antisocial neighbors, or simply lacks what we need. Okay, that one makes sense. And then damage, something is wrong with our resources or our hardware, brain, body, or software, missing or incomplete instincts and or unhelpful conditions such as PTSD is damaged. Okay, that makes sense to me too. So that would be more internal. And then knowledge. We may not know what we need, or we may not have been taught, or may have failed to learn. The coping skills necessary for getting our needs met, for example, how to use the imagination for problem solving rather than worrying, or how to make and sustain friendships. So, like, this covers, basically everything that could be going on with your brain according to this approach. It's like, well, it's got to be either your environment, your head being damaged, or just the knowledge of not knowing what needs to be done to be happy. Like, I don't know. That's just the basic, my understanding so far. But enough of this shit. Let's actually just go to a video. I'm much better at diagnosing videos. And as you could see, their YouTube channel only has 2,000 subscribers. So it's not the most popular thing. The only reason I heard about it is I have no idea. I don't even remember how I heard about this. But I do think it's kind of interesting. Let's just see this one.
Hello, my name is
hello.
Denise Wynn, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Human Givens approach to treating depression. Now,
all right, I'm listening.
Conventionally, if somebody thinks they're suffering from depression, they go to their GP, and the GP probably will ask them a variety of symptoms that they might be suffering from. They might also be asking them about whether there's depression in the family, whether a mother or father, sibling, aunt, uncle has had depression, and by which time perhaps the person is starting to feel even worse than when they came in. But then they might be told...
Why? Why would that make them feel worse? Just a questionnaire about their family history of depression makes them feel worse? Okay.
told that the reason they have depression is because there's a chemical imbalance in their brain, and this can be put right. And of course, for a lot of people, that would be welcome news. Unfortunately, it's not true. It's been roundly disproved that there's a chemical imbalance in the brain that is the cause of depression.
Has it?
There's still a lot of professionals who refer to this.
Has it been disproved?
And it does give people hope that if they take a pill, antidepressant, that this will deal with all their problems. Now, for some people, that does help them. Some people, it doesn't help at all. And where it doesn't help, even when there has been symptom relief, is in helping people to deal with future episodes of depression. This is where the Human Givens comes in, because we handle things very differently.
So they're saying the pill might help, but it's like a temporary solution.
We even start
Doesn't solve
in a different place. So if somebody comes to see us and says they have depression, yes, we'll be, of course, interested in hearing their story and how they feel. But what we will
how nice of you! You're interested in their story.
Be looking for
That's nice.
Is what needs are not being met in their life, because the basis of the human.
See, this is where it kind of gets me, because it seems less clinical and more practical and more individualized. Instead of just throwing the same fucking dosage of the same pills that we give everyone else, we actually individualize it and ask you, well, what's missing from your life?
Approach is that we have certain essential emotional needs, which, unless they're met in balance and in sufficient amounts, actually leave us vulnerable to mental ill health. That's what causes mental ill health.
Okay.
And we also have some innate resources, important innate resources, that help us meet our needs. And sometimes these aren't working well for one reason or another, or perhaps we are unintentionally misusing some of those resources. So this is what, as Human Givens therapists, we're looking for when we hear a person's story. And that changes the relationship straight away, because we're not dealing with...
The thing that makes her look not credible is her vest. If she wasn't wearing that purple, giant collared, open vest, maybe I wouldn't think she was quack.
With a victim, somebody who's got a condition that they can't help, but we are partners. We're looking at what's not working and why.
Nah, I don't actually think she's a quack. To be a quack, you have to be a doctor.
And how we can change things. And that is a very active role for the client rather than a passive one. Also, what we do is we're able, because of what we teach on the day, help people to be able to handle any future attacks of depression.
All right. So what's the point? I mean, I get. I just want a video that's a little bit easier to, not as long, even though that was not long at all. But let's just, I don't know. See what these guys say.
So I'm with Joe Griffin, one of the founders of the Human Givens movement and all of the organising ideas behind that. And we're at the Human Givens conference in May 2018 in Leamington Spa. And Joe, it's really great to see you again. And I really wanted to...
Why they worked.
So those fundamental ideas have been added to, they've evolved, they've grown, and the usage of them has grown in different spheres. I know you do a lot of work now in the world of work and organisations.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, that's boring.
So I'm with Joe Griffin, one of the founders of the Human Givens movement.
Why is it still playing, dude? Dude, I'm not going to listen to that, dude. I'm sorry that I'm being so, mean to the people who, are from this, but I'll try to, okay. Let's see what this person says. Yeah, it has to do with REM sleep. Like, if you're getting not enough or too much REM sleep, that's a sign of depression, and that's basically, they're saying, it's your brain making up for the lack of activity that it experienced in the daytime. So it's just going to be aroused at night because, well, it has nothing. It was inactive. That's why you get shitty sleep if you're depressed. That's their hypothesis.
Why depressed people are continually complaining of being exhausted and tired. why they wake up tired in the mornings, why they find it very, very hard to motivate themselves at the beginning of every day.
Yeah.
And if you understand the connection between dreaming, exhaustion, and depression, it's possible for many, many people to help themselves out of their depression all by themselves.
Isn't that fucking fascinating, though? Like, if that was true, you would probably hear about it. Like, if this was actually true, what he was saying, don't you think other people, other doctors would actually be talking about it? Don't you think it would be mainstream? Like, if it was that easy to fix depression just by realizing that, oh, I'm not getting my needs met, and then you get them met, and then magic. It's not magic. Taking a pill is more magical than what he's saying. To be honest, I actually kind of believe that what this guy's saying might be true, and that the reason that this has not become mainstream is because people are not interested in funding studies to either prove it or disprove it, because there's much more money in funding studies and research for pharmaceuticals, dude, because you could patent those. You could patent pharmaceuticals. You can't patent fucking therapy, like just vague, like, yeah, get your needs met. So in all honesty, the reason I'm bringing this up is not to criticize it, even though, of course, that's welcome. It's because I actually think it might be fucking true, dude, that depression for a lot of people is caused by your needs not being met. So if you're interested in this, it's called the Human Givens approach. And it applies to depression and probably other mental illnesses. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up with me taking a quick depression test. Why not, dude? We'll just do a quick depression test to see if I am depressed. Because one time, last time I've never been diagnosed with depression, but I did talk to a doctor who was not a psychiatrist or anything like that, psychologist, whatever. He was a neurologist. And he gave me like a really quick depression test, and I humored him. Like, I knew I was depressed at the time, but I knew he didn't know. And he gave me half the test. He didn't ask me any of the questions that were relevant to me, but he just decided that halfway through the test, you're not depressed. I was like, whoa, keep going there, buddy. You didn't get to the end of the test, dude. There's still some questions that you didn't get to. Like, if I have dark thoughts or shit like that. Like, I know I'm depressed. I don't need a fucking doctor to tell me I'm not depressed. It's something you can self-diagnose. So anyway, let's do that now. Let's see. Okay, how often have you been bothered by feeling down, depressed, irritable, hopeless for the last 2 weeks? Several days. How often have you been bothered that you have little interest or presence? Yeah, several days. How often have you been bothered by trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or sleeping too much? Nearly every fucking day, dude. How often have you been bothered that you have poor appetite, weight loss, or overeating? More than half the days. How often have you been bothered by feeling tired or having little energy? Every day. How often have you been bothered by feeling bad about yourself, or feeling that you're a failure, or that you have let yourself or your family down over the last few days? Just half the days. How often have you been bothered that you've had trouble concentrating on things like work or school? Oh, definitely every fucking day. How often have you been bothered by moving or speaking so slowly that other people could notice? Or the opposite, being so fidgety or restless that you can move in a lot. Yeah, that I don't really have that often. But that's just because I don't give a fuck. So I will say not at all, though. How often have you been bothered by thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting yourself in some way? This one, I don't really actually feel that I'd be better off dead, because then I wouldn't be anything if I was dead. I wouldn't be better off, but I get what they're saying. They're saying, do you want to hurt yourself? Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts of that, but do I really? Am I bothered by it? Okay, we'll say several days. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I failed the test. Doesn't really say. Just says my score is 16 out of 27. Yeah, so can you qualify it? Can you say like you were mild to severe? Sounds like I'm halfway there. No, that's more than halfway, but not much more than halfway. So yeah, so I'm about halfway depressed. That's not bad. Thought I was gonna say I was like really depressed, but anyway, who cares? The point is you are a bad comedian if you're not. If you're happy, you're not funny. That said, you could still be happy and funny, like Bill Burr. I just watched his special last night, Paper Tiger. Fucking excellent. It was I really needed to be reminded that it's still possible to be funny. Like it's still possible to actually be a professional comedian and not be artistically drained and still be artistically fulfilled. That's what he demonstrated. He had to go to England. He did it in England because he knew that America is fucking retarded right now, and it's not a good idea to film a special if you're trying to be edgy or funny. Let's just call it funny. So anyway, the point is, it reinvigorated my desire to become a professional stand-up, because you get these feelings of hopelessness when you realize that that's not in style. Like being a funny comedian is not in style right now. What's in style is being divisive and anti-male and anti-white. That's what's in style, or whatever. Just fill in a blank. Like it's to be political. But Bill Burr's special made me fucking laugh. Like the best part was when the microphone stand stopped working and he made fun of English people and he did an English accent. That was fucking hilarious. I'm just saying, dude. So we're ending on that. We're ending on a plug for Bill Burr's special. Thank you so much for listening, dude.
The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. The Sergeant at Arms will restore order.